the man who read the first reading, I think the second reading is Anan Ankomah. A lot of you do not know this, but there's a part of Ace that many of us don't project that much. So in social media, he's a lawyer who makes a lot of noise. These days he's gone quiet. But for those of us in the Christian faith, he's been one of the people who's defined contemporary gospel music. Last week I played Guanshefo on the radio, and as I played it, I thought about you and your wife and the work you did, and then I heard you sing here as well. Just summarize all of that for me and what KODA meant to you, Ace.
Well, Kofi was a younger brother who called me uncle. There's a lot that people do not know. I had a younger brother who also calls me uncle in tech, Pastor JB, and he said they were having a recording at TVO Lamte's studio.
Okay.
Vision Audio Lab.
Okay. Hacho.
So I went there, and TVO, they didn't know I had gone there. So TVO played the music for me. And I was so impressed that all Impact Project know is that somebody showed up and paid for the rest of the recording.
Wow.
Right? So that is when I met Kofi, because he was part of it. And we became friends. And what people do not know is that one night, Kofi, me, Makafui, and TVO Lamte mixed Nyame Yohin, which is my song, in TVO studio. We had recorded for Joyful at the time. I gave a lift to Kofi and Makafui to Sakumono, in this area.
Wow.
That's when he told me he was going into full-time music.
Wow.
And so we spent 2 hours speaking on the road. Wow. And I said to him, Kofi, just don't play music, get into engineering as well.
Which is why the studio.
Yes. And so the 2 hours, it was a short trip, but we parked at Sakumono Junction and spoke for almost 2 hours. And so I've been part of his life. I have seen his music. When Kofi returned from the US, he said, Uncle, I'm back in town. Then I said, the project we're doing for Joyful with the EP.
Wow.
Kofi and I finished 12 songs in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
He sent the last track to me on Thursday. On Sunday morning, they called me, he couldn't breathe. When I got there, I knew that was it.
Wow.
So we've been that close, because we literally live very close to each other right now, right? And so that's how much we've been involved in each other's lives, doing music together, but also knowing his family and him knowing my family. So he and I go much deeper than a lot of people would know.
My final question to you is, when you reflect on the way gospel music has evolved, obviously 70s and 80s, Calvary Road, Joyful Way, and then of course we, the 90s into 2000s, Intellecto. Jusa was just telling me that for him, KODA represents that genre, producing a lot of people like Neo Kai, a lot of the young people who went through the universities from the late 90s and the early 2000s. Where do you think he sits in that pantheon of contemporary gospel music?
I think Kofi transcends it all.
Wonderful.
You see, because he came in at a time when there was a need to move into more contemporary genres. And he came in with a lot of skill. But what his skill did was that it both looked to the future and hooked back to the past. So a lot of people from the 70s and 80s who need to produce music will still go to Kofi, because he's able to play in that field. Barbara Ntiamwa, people may not remember Barbara Ntiamwa. She was Barbara Mensah. She used to sing Take Up Thy Cross with Calvary Road in those days. Barbara is doing a production now, and it's Kofi who is doing the production, because he's able to hook back to the music before his time and also look to the music ahead. So he's one. I mean, I ran short of words to describe him. What people don't realize that in the middle of our work, I posted something about the fact that if you want a sound engineer, it is Kofi. In a month, he passed.
Oh my God. Only the Lord knows the many songs he was to have produced that he did not produce.
He's decided that it's enough. We don't think it's enough. But Bernard, I'll tell you how a lot of these things add up to me now. You know what I've said, and people criticize that it's too fatalistic. We are toys in his box. He's the owner of the toy box. He decides that I'm removing the leg of this doll to put on that doll.
Wow.
Maybe the doll who has lost a leg isn't feeling good, but the owner of the box has decided that for his purposes, it is time to move one leg to that other place.
Wonderful.
And that is the only way in which this adds up to me.
Thank you, Ace Ankomah. By the way, I forgot to mention that Kofi Duanto and Ace, Neo Kai, and the next person I'm interviewing all went to Infantipim School, which is what they consider to be the school.
And he's the one who started Impact And so I went to the studio to listen to their music, and then the mystery person paid for the recording.
And he just popped up here.